Yes, I'd like to report a murder or a dead body or something.
Yeah, Barbara Ware's body was located right by this telephone pole here. I guess our 911 caller, saw the van pull up, start unloading the body.
He threw her out. The only thing that's hanging out of this, like he threw a gas tank on top of her, and the only thing you can see out is her feet.
On some of the toughest streets in South Los Angeles, homicide detective Bill Fallon is a man caught in the past, chasing the same killer who stalked these neighborhoods when he was a young cop more than 20 years ago.
That's an optimal place to put a body. He comes in an alley late at night.
I know what boys like.
The year was 1985. Ronald Reagan was president. Back to the Future was the hottest thing on the big screen, and a new drug called crack was beginning to transform the streets of Los Angeles. It was a busy year to be a cop in LA. The streets were like killing fields with a murder rate of nearly 800. It was in this setting, among the chaos and drugs, that a serial killer began his work.
A transient was walking down this alley looking for cans and bottles, and he started digging in that dumpster, and he saw our victim.
Right here.
Right here, right where the chain is hanging on the gate.
With his partner on hand for the sole purpose of watching our backs in this dangerous gangland, Detective Fallon took us on a tour of an alley that's become a human dumping ground.
And this is very close proximity to one of your other victims, right?
Absolutely.
Where was that? Just on the alley here?
1987, and we're talking 1, 2, 3, about 5 houses down.
Who was found here?
Benita Sparks. She was found at 9414 Southwestern, to the rear, in the alley in a dumpster.
More or less right here.
Absolutely.
Again, in a dumpster.
Yeah, 20 years ago.
The killer has a name, but no face. They call him the Grim Sleeper. If you've never heard of him, you're not alone. Although he's been killing since 1985, the LAPD didn't realize it had a serial killer on its hands for 2 decades.
We have 12 individuals starting in 1985. Our third victim, Thomas Steele, was the only male involved in this.
Detective Dennis Kilcoyne heads up a unit called the 800 Task Force, a half-dozen cold case detectives now assigned full-time to the Grim Sleeper case.
This looks old.
It is old. 1987.
1987.
He showed us the old binders, what he calls the murder books, filled with crime scene photos, tire tracks, and other old evidence, like this scrap of paper.
What is this?
It's a case number and a name, and I don't know what that means because it's been sitting there for 22 years.
LAPD robbery homicide.
If you think there's a certain romance to cold cases, think again.
What's common to the victims?
The commonality is that they're all from the same general area of the city in South Los Angeles. I don't think I would label them all as prostitutes per se, but they certainly have troubled lifestyles. They're broken people, and they're easy targets.
The killings took place in a cluster around the same South LA neighborhood. All of them matched to the same .25 caliber handgun. All of them matched to the same DNA, generally saliva taken from the victim's breasts. Most of the killings occurred before 1990, and police wouldn't have had a clue they had a serial killer on their hands, if not for the fact that he started killing again. After a 14-year break, the Grim Sleeper awoke to kill 3 women in 2002, 2003, and 2007.
Well, we became aware of it right around April of 2007, and we realized that there was a serial killer because of the DNA hits we started getting. So we get those hits, and we're like, whoa. That's when we start digging it.
A killer was on the loose. 11 dead, 1 confirmed attempt and near killing, all in the same area. But the police didn't say a thing about it.
I was the one who told some of the family members that their daughters were, victims of a serial killer. They didn't even know.
It took Christine Pelisek, an enterprising reporter for the LA Weekly, to piece it all together and alert a community that a killer was in their midst.
The Public Safety Committee, they had no idea. I mean, the Police Commission, they didn't even know. So there was a lot of people very upset, that the police didn't let the community know.
The LA Times picked up the story and asked the question that was rumbling through the community. If the victims were, quote, well-to-do white women, would police have kept mum so long?
I think that if it was in Hollywood or someplace, it would have been handled much differently. I think they would have told people, it would have been out there in the public. It wasn't done, and I think that was a big mistake.
Diana Ware is 1987 murder victim Barbara Ware's stepmother. She had no idea Barbara was the victim of a serial killer until she was blindsided by the story.
So it was quite a shock when that came out, and to know how many people.
So what is the response to community members who say, listen, if this was happening in a different part of town, a more affluent, a more Caucasian part of the city, people would have been brought into the loop sooner?
I don't go along with that, not at all. We value every life.
LAPD Chief Bill Bratton has taken the brunt of the fire.
There are always those that will be critical of when we choose to go forward with the information that we go forward with. That goes with the territory that I'm comfortable that this department is doing all it can to solve this case.
We wanted to get a step ahead of the killer himself. You know, we don't want him to say, okay, I don't want you to know I'm coming for you until I find out who you are, where you are, and what you're doing.
Quiet no more. Now that the word is out, the LAPD is hoping to take advantage. A billboard has gone up in South LA with the faces of the dead and a record $500,000 reward for information. And investigators are releasing a 20-year-old 911 call, a witness to the dumping of Barbara Ware's body.
Yes, I'd like to report a murder.
What's your name?
Oh, I don't stand anonymous. I know too many people. Okay, then, bye-bye.
All right.
Detective Fallon is following up on the 20-year-old call like it was yesterday. Is the caller a witness or the killer himself? And why the 14-year break in the killings? Was the killer in prison, living elsewhere, or did he just stop for a while?
What's your profile when you think about it at your desk and pore over these files again and again and again?
I believe it's a young man that's very angry with women. I mean, some woman, I believe, somewhere has hurt him down the line, and he's taking it out on the women.
Detective Fallon and the rest of the task force hope to find him 24 years after the killings began, find the grim sleeper before he wakes to kill again. I'm Neil Karlinski for Nightline in Los Angeles.